Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Journeys in Fandom, season 2. It's me, Matt. And we're back to talk about Marvel, or
yes.
the mess that is Marvel.
The mess that is Marvel.
Yeah.
Yes, after the deep... this is deep dive. After the sort of dipping the toe in the water in last episode, which if you haven't already done so, go and have a listen. We're now going to do a bit of a deep dive into Marvel, specifically Marvel Phase 4 and the current status of the Marvel Universe.
Yes. I have to ask you before we start, do you like my cat ears?
For the benefit of those not consuming content via YouTube, I'm hypnotized by Matt's cat ears. Yes, we can't say here on GIF we're not upgrading our technology. Oh, God.
What?
I can't.
You said to use headphones because we got some feedback, so I had to get ones with ears. I'm going to be an e-girl. It's going to be fine. I'll be sending feet pics before you know it.
I'm going to say, for the benefit of people listening, he has got some clothes on, so we're okay.
That would just increase viewers, you know it would.
Oh, there we go. There you go. Stay for episode 3. Oh, right.
Oh dear, we've derailed it already. So, Marvel.
Right. No. I am going to christen a new section of this podcast called the News section, where we talk about things that have happened in the news. So, actually, it's been quite a heavy, newsworthy couple of days, especially for Doctor Who. I don't know if you've seen all the stuff that's been coming out over the last week, 2 weeks since we last spoke.
No. For context for people, should we say the dates that we are recording? Because otherwise people might think, that's not new news, that's really old.
So I haven't got the latest newspaper I can hold up as if it's like some kind of hostage video, but it is April 30th today. April 30th, 2023. Anyway, yes.
So what's happened in the news then, Tim?
Right. What have we got? So, starting in no particular order, Murray Gold is back.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes. Well,
Good music returns.
It was inevitable they were going to get him back, but yes. I can't remember that. My Doctor Who points are low, but I can't remember the previous guy's name, but it wasn't very good, and Murray Gold is awesome, so I'm glad that he's back.
That's fair. The fact you can't remember his name sums it up quite well.
Yeah. What else have we got? We have got, let me share the screen. I should say, I didn't really say it last time, that we do have a YouTube channel and we are broadcasting this. So if you ever hear me say share the screen, it's because I'm sharing it through YouTube. So if you go to link.journeysinfandom.com, you can find the link to all our socials and YouTube and everything on there. Right. Let me have a look.
Ooh.
So this came out last week, I think it was, Ncuti Gatwa and is it Millie Gibson? This is obviously they're shooting something in the 60s. So I thought that was a really good photo and a really nice look for both of them.
That's a really strong image, isn't it? I like that.
Because one of the things that Jodie's Doctor didn't do was tailor her costume to the era, but certainly Tennant's Doctor, first one, 10th Doctor, did. Obviously, when he went back to the 60s and he had the accessories. But that's the first time I've seen a Doctor completely change their costume to something of the era. Obviously, we don't know the context of the photos, but I thought that looked really good.
Yeah. No, fantastic photo. Looking forward to it.
Yes, should be quite exciting. So, speaking of Doctor Who, we have... Did you see who'd been cast in the 60th anniversary as well? The surprise casting. Jinx Monsoon! Yay!
That's going to be cool.
Yes. Apparently...
That's going to be very cool.
Tagline, the most evil villain the Doctor's ever faced. I don't know. Obviously...
Master version 27 then?
I don't know, because you've got Neil Patrick Harris, who is obviously in Top Hat and Tails. You've got Jinx with the obvious keyboard on her costume. Do you think we're going to get a musical on Number in some shape or form? Because Tennant would do it, wouldn't he? And I think he's done it
before, hasn't he? With Blackpool.
Oh, he has, hasn't he?
We could have a musical episode.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Oh, could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Going back to my musical theatre days, I'm sure I could do that.
Yes, darling.
What are we doing? Yeah, I generally don't know. I think the great thing about the 60th is we just don't know anything, and that's brilliant.
No.
Gone are the days of the Capaldi Smith era when everything was leaking, and we're back to not knowing anything, and that's great. It's the best place to be in, I think, for Doctor Who.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Spoilers have always been a problem, and the less of them, the better. And I think with Tennant being back, you've got like a strong actor in the centre of it. So like people like Neil Patrick Harris are an on-screen presence. And if you had them against other actors, you might lose something. But I think Tennant handled that quite nicely. Is it November yet?
Good. What I don't want to do is go happened yesterday.
Trailer heavy. I'd rather have a nice a teaser, a trailer, and then do it. None of this. Here's the entire episode in trailer form.
Oh, well, that's what they do with the cinema in general now. Is you get everything in the trailers. No, I don't think. Well, like Russell's already said that you're not getting much, and in the trailer he's already said the big one that came out whenever it was back end of last year, there's already bits in there that have been edited. So the bit where Ncuti Gatwa says, what the hell's going on here, the background has been changed, so you don't know what's happening there. And there's a guy walks into a shop, you only see him from the feet upwards. Apparently that's another big star that no one's worked out who he is yet.
Oh, cool.
So there's all sorts of little things.
If you're going to do trailers, do like Marvel do, and have fake scenes in them.
Oh yeah, they're getting quite they're very
to really
good
put
at doing
people
that.
off.
Yeah. That's why you just hire someone like Paul McGann just to be in a trailer, just to troll the entire fandom.
Could you imagine the rage?
Oh Lord! So there we go. That's the news for the last couple of days. Doctor Who heavy, so we'll have to wait and see.
Cool.
So Marvel.
Yes, good old Marvel.
So let's rewind, shall we? When was it?
How far was it rewinding?
I'm going to look at my notes because I've again been doing my homework. I just close all these random windows so Doctor Who doesn't replay. Phase 4. Phase 4 started in 2021, would you believe? Phase 3 ended in 2019 because of the pandemic got in the way, didn't it, a bit?
Yeah.
So
what was the end of Phase 3 other than obviously Endgame? Because wasn't there another film after Endgame that also technically counted as Phase 3?
I was thinking about that earlier. I've got hang on, let's have a look at this. Wikipedia's your friend. Let's have a look. Films. Oh, of course, Spider-Man. Spider-Man Far From Home was the last one.
Yes.
So that came out July 2nd, 2019. So Phase 4...
2019? I feel old.
Yeah, you forget how far away like Endgame was. And you think it was like yesterday, but no, it was a long time ago. I think
because we obviously lost 2-3 years from pandemic time, which is this fictitious time that no one really remembers, Endgame felt like last year.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Phase 4, ignore... They obviously had some issues with pandemic, but shall I just run through what came out in Phase 4, films-wise?
Okay, yep.
And then, obviously, not just films, because there's TV shows now, but that's probably part of the problem. So, in order, Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor, Love and Thunder, and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. That was Phase 4.
I think I saw 3 of those.
Which 3 did you see then?
I didn't see Black Widow because that was a straight to TV.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, because that got hit by the pandemic, didn't it? So cinemas weren't open. So they then, of course, that was a whole Scarlett Johansson lawsuit thing.
Yeah,
because her salary was linked to income, and they didn't make any because there were no cinemas.
No.
So I didn't see Black Widow. I saw Shang-Chi. I probably pronounced that really badly. And I saw that on Disney Plus, I think.
Yeah, we saw it on Disney
but
Plus
that
as
was
well.
a while after it had been released.
Oh.
I then saw Spider-Man because everyone saw Spider-Man because even if there wasn't a Marvel universe, Spider-Man would have been awesome because it just did its own thing. It was a little Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
What else was there? Didn't
Doctor
see Thor.
Strange.
Saw Doctor Strange. I confess, I was quite confused watching Doctor Strange because I didn't think it was our versions. I was going, oh, cool, it's a random Doctor Strange. Cool. They went, oh, they killed off a random Wanda. They went, oh, no, there are ones, if you say so. It didn't feel like our ones. I think Strange looked different. Wanda was obviously just a villain. So yeah, someone had to tell me at the end. They going, oh yeah, they're like the real universe ones. I went, are they? I thought they were just like a random one they picked up somewhere. Yeah, I just kind of hand in my like nerd card, aren't I? But just not knowing. I just confessed on the podcast. That was a mistake.
You go.
Yeah,
And then we talked about
that one through.
And we talked about Black Panther last time.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, it's a mixed bag. I've seen them all. I didn't see Eternals at the cinema. I saw that quite recently, actually. Black Widow, saw on Disney Plus. Black Panther, I didn't see at the cinema, but the other one, and Shang-Chi didn't either. Where do you start with that? Just look at the TV shows as well, and then we can start. We'll jump around because obviously this was the era of the Disney Plus TV shows. We didn't have any before then. I don't think this was the first. This was the first batch of this is something new that Disney were doing to expand the universe. So we've got WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, the What If cartoons, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, and She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And they're all part of Phase 4.
I saw WandaVision because I don't have Disney Plus.
I suppose that's interesting. Actually, that'll probably be an interesting part of this conversation because I've obviously seen them all.
Yeah.
Oh, God, where do you start? I think that fundamentally, with all those films, let's have a look. Well, in order to enjoy Doctor Strange, you've got to have seen WandaVision because Doctor Strange, Multiverse Madness, Doctor Strange 2 was a direct sequel not to its own film, but was a sequel to WandaVision, which is probably why it didn't do very well because it was trying to be too many things in one film. It was Sam Raimi trying to be Sam Raimi horror film. It was trying to be a sequel to Doctor Strange, which didn't, apart from Mondo, but it wasn't real Mondo. It was Mondo from the other universe. Had no relevance, and the wedding at the start. And then it was a sequel to WandaVision where Wanda went full heel and was just like, oh, right, it's now kicking off. So, yeah, that one was an interesting one. Loki set the seed for everything else, obviously with Kang and all that kind of stuff that's coming now in Phase 5. All the rest of them, obviously Ms. Marvel leads into Phase 5 with the Marvels, but the rest of them you could have She-Hulk, take it or leave it. Moon Knight, one shot, take it or leave it. Hawkeye, take it or leave it. What If? Yeah, they were good cartoons actually. There's some nice little ideas played around with that. Take it or leave it. Falcon Winter Soldier was probably the best out of all of them. Again, that's leading into Phase 5, Phase 6. I can't remember the next one that's coming with.
Because didn't they also have to basically rewrite Falcon Winter Soldier because it was set in a man-made pandemic that was done in a lab somewhere, and they went, no, abort.
I half knew that, but half didn't. That would explain some of the... It was good. There was some really good stuff in it, but it was also bad, and there was some really bad stuff in it, and it didn't flow, and I can understand why now if that was the case. Oh dear. So yeah, there's lots of content, and I think that's probably, from my point of view, is why Marvel is in a bit of a mess because they've got too much and they've watered down what was good with too much stuff.
Well, it's like with the films, it used to be an event. It was a case of, yes, this is the next film coming, it's going to be big, everyone's going to see it at the cinema, You need to see it on day one, minute one, because otherwise it's going to get spoiled into the ground. And things like Infinity War and Endgame was that build up to that. And now you're just going, cool, I've got a film about Black Widow who's already been killed off, so there's going to be no risk, no stakes, no anything. Great.
We'll come back to the concept of how they're treating female women heroes in a minute, but yeah, I don't know, was Black Widow a contractual thing? I genuinely don't know, because it didn't make sense to put that as a prequel to something, a big thing that's already happened. It would have been nicer if that had sat in somewhere in the previous phase.
Yeah. If they'd have done it earlier, like before Captain Marvel, because let's face it, she was the first of the original mob and didn't get her own film. Yeah, and admittedly, neither did Hawkeye, but he wasn't like a face, was he? If
not
that makes
really.
sense.
No, he was a supporting character. To be fair, yeah, it's interesting the way they did that, and I don't know whether it was contractual. Obviously, like you say, it got what's the word? Affected by the pandemic. Pandemic-ed. Looking at this list, so this was the first phase where they experimented, and again, you can contradict me, but the experiment failed. They changed the format of what they'd done before, and it didn't work. So Eternals
what made it not work? Because obviously, like Eternals, I had no interest in. So the films I didn't see. So Black Widow had no stakes, added nothing. It was a backstory, so just didn't care. Eternals, I'm going, these characters, again, I have no interest in, and nothing drew me to it.
Well, the thing is with the Eternals is Jack Kirby's Eternals was this big kind of centerpiece of his kind of creation, and these characters were all big, larger-than-life characters, and what they basically did was took the concept and completely bastardized them and watered them down to the point where they weren't what they were supposed to be, and I think that was so many reasons why, but they tried to do something different with different format, different director, different way of doing things, and it didn't work, and it was long and it was boring. It was just dull, and it was an experiment that failed. I think they like it or loathe it, the cookie cutter superhero film works, and when you go outside that, you've got to be really good. So Guardians went outside that and it worked, but Eternals went a different way and it didn't work. And I believe they're going to reference it, but no one's referenced that massive celestial in the sea. Apparently it's going to pop up supposedly in the Captain America film, but it's like the Eternals didn't happen in the Marvel universe now.
Yeah, so because that's the thing. If you've got like these cataclysmic events, surely like Avengers get involved, because this could end the world. Cool, let's just ignore that just let it play out.
So I don't know. Eternals, it was a good cast. Don't get me wrong. There was some good people in it. It was just boring, and I thought,
is that when Harry Styles was in?
Yes, at the end.
Good quality acting chops there.
God.
I can see the complaints already. It's fine.
Yeah. The only one to do well in this thing was Spider-Man No Way Home, but I think you hit the nail on the head. It's Spider-Man. No matter what you're going to do, it's going to make money because it's so popular.
Spider-Man, it wasn't just Spider-Man, it was all of the Spider-Men and all of the old villains, and it was just a beautiful nod to everything. So it was old and new and wonderful, and it was just great. And I could happily watch it lots more times because it was really good.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Even if you sort of go, oh, well, actually, is it a good film? And you think, well, probably.
I'll be honest. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I walked out of the cinema and I was like, I can't put my finger on it, but it's not as great as everyone says it is. I think.
Does it have the weight of expectation, though?
Yes.
The fact is, you just go, yes, this film in my head is going to be the perfect, most brilliant film ever known to man. And no film, no matter how good it is, can do that.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be a nostalgia kind of journey, so it was cashing in on that. But Spider-Man always does well because Spider-Man is the most successful single Marvel product, and you can see why they wanted to get it back from Sony. So yeah, that was, I think, the only one that was a success on this list. Black Panther.
How are they defining success on your list?
Well, I think I could probably go into all the money, but the only one that got critical acclaim and fan acclaim. So if you go into Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that, the only one out of all that list that actually got the balance of both worlds. But if you believe Rotten Tomatoes and how they do things now anyway, I wouldn't necessarily put too much stock in that. Black Panther we covered last time. It was what it was. It was a dedicated kind of thing, really, to Chadwick Boseman. It was okay, but not great. It didn't set the world alight. I've purposely left Thor: Love and Thunder till last, though. You didn't see that one, did you?
No. I was going to. Then my normal cinema crew had all seen it and went, yeah, or Cadra or whatever. And they said, yeah, it was a film. And I went, right. Define it was a film. Well, it was filmed on a camera, therefore technically it's a film. And I'm just going, right, is it worth seeing again? Probably not.
No.
And at that point I went, do you know what? Yeah.
It was awful. So many things wrong with it that I can't remember if you remember, but Iron Man 3 didn't happen for me. Iron Man 3 was...
there is no Iron Man 3. There's only made 2 Iron Man films.
Yeah.
And if anyone disputes that, I will fight them.
This got close. There's at one point during the film where I got so sick of the one-liners and the comedy that in my head I was just going, shut up, just stop it. I nearly actually said it out loud because it was just great. It was so... You see, Thor Ragnarok. So Thor Ragnarok was great because it had that balance of wacky, what's his face, Taika Waititi comedy and seriousness, and it worked. This was Waititi turned up to 12 and absolutely no seriousness in the film at all. It was... See, what you've got the Gore the God Butcher storyline, which is one of the epic Thor storylines they've ever done. Likewise, you've got the Jane Foster cancer storyline, which is a really heavy-hitting storyline as well in the film. And then you just imagine that's kind of the nucleus, and then you just surround it by one-liners and effectively turning Thor into a joke. So he went from ignore Fat Thor in Endgame, because that kind of worked.
But that was PTSD. That was PTSD Thor, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that had some nice foundation. This was just, they basically just turned him into an absolute idiot. So he was running around preening after Jane Foster, and he was not a hero in the film at all. He was just an absolute idiot. And there was just one line after one line after one liner. It's just continuously bombarding with stupid humour that you just thought you had Christian Bale acting his arse off as this really complex villain. And then you had what's her face, Natalie Portman, Jane Foster with cancer, and then you had Thor being a dick. And it just didn't work, and it was awful. It was really, really bad. And there was the CGI was awful, and I think there was a really badly timed thing where Taika Waititi and his partner, the one who plays Valkyrie, I can't remember her name. I should know. Tess Thompson,
yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Sort of in some kind of advert or something, taking the piss out of the CGI in their film. So taking the piss out of the work that the CGI people who are already going out on strike and not working for Marvel, taking the piss out of them. And it's like, oh, that was badly timed. So it was awful. It was an awful, awful film. And the only saving grace was Hercules in the post-credits scene. And if you watch Ted Lasso, it's Roy Kent from Ted Lasso. And I was like, yes. And I literally just went, it's Roy Kent. And that was it. It was really bad. It was embarrassingly bad. And you can see why he's been dropped as a director, because it got panned. The critics didn't like it. The fans definitely didn't like it.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where I was thinking, should I go and see this? Should I go make the effort? And I went, I just can't be bothered.
I
And I
think
think the negative feedback, I was like, oh, I can't be asked with this. And
uh,
when they were first saying about it, I thought, oh, it's going to be really good. It's going to be like quite sort of 80s style and going to be a good fun romp. And it weren't. And I was quite looking forward to even like Gore the God Butcher and all that storyline. I thought, yes, it's going to be great. And then the reviews and the feedback and the oh god, it's awful.
yeah. So that was a classic case of, I don't know, creative. I don't know where Thor goes from here because they made him. I don't know. He's Chris Hemsworth. Does Chris Hemsworth he get diagnosed with something like Alzheimer's? Not Alzheimer's. Something he was diagnosed with. It was on the news. Hang on, let's have a look. It was something.
And also, I remember another news story that says if he was to come back, he wanted to come back in a much more serious, grounded kind of barbarian Thor kind of vibe.
Here we go. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth may take hiatus from Hollywood amid Alzheimer's diagnosis. So he's taking time off from acting. That was end of last year. That was the 3rd of April. So, yeah. Well, to be honest, they wrapped up the storyline. So Thor can do what he wants and go where he wants. It made no difference, but it was bad. I think it's an example of Phase 4. It was full of... There's lots of reasons, but all the other phases had a clear strategy and a clear plan. And it seems they got to Endgame and they fell off a cliff. And it was like, well, there's no plan. Phase 5, Kang, is the plan, but there's still, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as tight and as direction. It's like every film and every end credit scene had a direction and it was all leading to one thing. But
that's the problem. There isn't that big bad, is there? You're going, oh yeah, Kang's like the big bad of phase 6, 5, 7?
What phase 5 and 6, isn't it? Yeah, 5 and 6, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's the big bad, hopefully, if they don't recast him. And you just think, oh, there's just nothing that's building up to this sort of end point. And like you said, I think phase 4, there was just no coherent like thread through it. It was, oh, here's a Loki series, and this is introducing a multiverse, and here's Doctor Strange, and he's now broken it, and here's WandaVision, and so it's a whole mix of things that didn't quite gel together.
Yeah, and then you've got the watering down the TV series. I think the concepts were there, but it just felt there was no one leading those concepts through all the different shows. And I'm going to step up. I think also as well, Marvel got very political with the stories they were producing, the writers they brought in, and that also watered down what they were doing. So I'm not going to skirt around it. There was, and I have it here because I was doing my homework, there was an article that was written in 2018. Let me just share this. This is kind of where one of the things where it all started. Let me put this up. Where are we? That one. So this was the article that spurred on a lot of the things where Kevin Feige said that Phase 4 would have more than 50% of superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would be female, and there's a big push and the back of Captain Marvel to bring in more female superheroes, which fair play is I'm not gonna dispute that. It was something that was lacking, as we just said, wasn't it? I was gonna say Barbra Streisand. Why am I saying Barbra Streisand? Scarlett Johansson. God knows.
I mean, they are very different people, Tim.
Poles above. There you go. There's my casting. God, there was going to be. She was the only female hero, and she wasn't even super. Yeah. And then they chucked in Captain Marvel, and there was going to be all these other ones come out. And unfortunately, I'll be honest, they've all come out, and they've all been pretty rubbish. She-Hulk being the worst of the bunch, if I'm honest. I think Wasp has been all right, and Amanda Wasp, I think, but she's been more of a supporting character rather than character in her own right. So I think this has damaged them unfortunately, because it became a political commentary. So She-Hulk, you didn't see that. The villain in She-Hulk TV series was internet fans. Misogynist internet fans was the
Excellent.
villain.
Okay, because at the end of She-Hulk, don't they reveal that Kevin Feige is in fact a robot called Kevin or something?
Yeah, she breaks... Sorry, go on.
So while the shows are a bit generic and bad, is because it literally, you feed in information and it spits out a product, and you're going, yep, that's kind of Disney and Marvel's MO, guys.
Yeah, they kind of turn the piss out of each other. It's like, oh, She-Hulk breaks the fourth wall. So unlike Deadpool, which was done really well, where they're just kind of nods and winks and is talking to the audience, She-Hulk has to physically come out into the real world to talk to the writers, and it's all done like that.
But then again, both She-Hulk and Deadpool have done that in comics, haven't they?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's Deadpool in the Deadpool films. It's all done as part of the story, whereas they went arguably one step too far and made She-Hulk this weird. I'm sure people who are fans of She-Hulk say, "Oh no, that's fine." But I looked at it as if they could bring in She-Hulk into the Marvel universe. They've got this entity now that exists. They've got to treat the Marvel Cinematic Universe differently to the comic universe, and unfortunately, they didn't do that very well. Plus, because she broke the fourth wall, she rewrote the entire ending of the series. So it all went weird, and it was like, oh no, I don't want to do this, I want to do this, and it all changed. It's saying, well, what's the point of me watching 6 or 8 episodes if you're just going to change it? Because it was just like, oh, it was some kind of weird meta experiment that kind of went wrong.
Yeah. And so, just to go off on a side tangent, so if you've got a character who can break the fourth wall and rewrite their own TV series, if you then introduce a character into, I don't know, say an Avengers film, and they just go, cool, I don't like that villain, I'm going to write out the script, have you just created God?
Yeah.
Effectively. I
think that's where Ryan Reynolds and those guys did Deadpool really well, because he's just nodding and winking, talking to the audience, but in the context of the story they were in, and that's all it was, and that worked really well. Now I think She-Hulk, and the fact is the writers, some of the interviews with the writers where they were laughing in glee and wringing their hands at the fact that they were making misogynist white men the villain of the series. You just think, oh, it's just too far. What you're doing is, a la Doctor Who, we talked about this last time, you're antagonising the fan base of the people you need to keep that foundation of fandom. If you start poking fun and having a go at the people who are your base and they will leave, who are you left with? There's no one left. And yeah, I don't know, it was frustrating, because She-Hulk was also like half an hour an episode, so you kind of half got into it and then it finished, and it's like, what's this? So it was a bit bizarre. It had some really, don't get me wrong, it had some good moments, but they were very few and far between, and it wasn't good. And I'm stuck into the other TV shows. They were all a mixed bag in terms of I would say experimental casting and storylines, which were obviously heavily geared towards that kind of politics that Hollywood is very interested in at the moment about, and it's at the expense of some of the heroes, which unfortunately are traditionally quite male orientated, because that's the medium they're coming from. Yeah. So,
yeah, like you said, with the half the superheroes being women and female, you go, actually, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're doing it in a sensible approach, because actually representation and balance and all of those things are really important. But what you don't want to do is force it for the sake of forcing it. Like, Captain Marvel is a really powerful character, and you go, yep, you know what, this is fantastic. But what you don't want to do is just create or overhype secondary characters to try and bring balance to your casting. And I think you've got a little bit of that. So like we were saying, or you've got like Wasp and stuff like that, you're going, yeah, they are great supporting characters, but they were written to be that way. So it's a difficult one. And again, like
Yeah,
she can be a leading character, but you've got to get it right and build her up so she can do that. And if you've got a character that just can um, undo reality effectively, or not reality, that could be a problem and damages your own product in the process.
yeah, it's a shame because I think there was some good stuff and it's been marred at all this controversy, and there's been a lot of negativity towards Marvel online, and a lot of it is grounded in reality. Some of it's just people just sounding off because they don't like the way things are going.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at Phase 5, and it is quite interesting. Phase 5 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, which has been Guardians of the Galaxy, which is actually out in a week or so's time, which I didn't realise. The Marvels, which has been put back so many times I've lost count. That's the end of the year. Captain America New World Order, which is this time next year. Thunderbolts next summer, and then Blade. Now, Blade has been marred in a lot of back and forth, and is what's his face, the actor, actually going to be there? And there's been lots of rewrites and all sorts of fun and games with that one. I predict that now the Blade will get pushed back. I don't think that will be. But the other ones, apart from Ms. Marvel, sorry, not Ms. Marvel, the Marvels, are all kind of groups. Obviously, you've got Captain America, but apparently that's going to be a bit of a team-up movie. Thunderbolts, definitely obviously a team. Guardians, a team. And Ant-Man and the Wasp was a team thing. So the concept of more singular female superheroes has gone out the window, but also the male singular films have all gone as well. It's all now groups or team-ups, which is interesting. I hadn't really realised that until I looked at this.
Was it my imagination, or I know a lot of people have said when they've seen like the Marvels trailer that they're just going, this looks like a sensible and maybe good film that just looks like a good couple of hours. And I'm thinking, are they sort of trolling us here, going, oh, this is actually going to be all right? Who knows?
I don't. Again, what the villain in it is someone I've never heard of. Some like Z-list alien character that they've just kind of built up, which is another thing they keep doing. They keep dragging out these random characters from their kind of canon and just sort of introducing them and getting them killed off. It's like, oh, right, okay, that was gone. Oh, that was gone. Even to a certain extent, Kang, it feels to me in these films now, there's no big bads anymore. All the villains have gone. Whereas in the original, like, first couple of phases, you had big villains, but now you don't seem to get those big villains anymore. Wanda from Scarlet Witch, yes, you could argue was a big villain, but she wasn't a villain in the evil sense. She was driven evil for various reasons. So there's not been, outside of Thanos, a really good villain for a long time. Because Spider-Man, really successful, but had how many villains in it?
Yeah. And look how they treated Ultron.
Oh, yeah.
You're just thinking he could have been a proper, like, big bad, and they make a couple of Pinocchio jokes and kill him off.
Yes. It is interesting where there's always a phrase I remember, the hero is only as good as the villain they're facing. But if they haven't got a decent villain, then it becomes, what is the point of a lot of these heroes? I like it when I know it's a bit cliche, when you get the villain origin story in a lot of the films. I kind of miss that. That was the first, like, phase 1, you get all the villains and where they came from. I still quite like that, but we don't get that anymore. It's all...
Yeah, I think because there's this shared universe and a world and a multiverse, there isn't time to shoehorn in a proper villain development.
Yeah, I suppose that's
it's the old classic about Batman movies, isn't it? He's got the best villains out there, and they're usually just guys in suits with a good HR department, and you've just got enough. But they've been around enough, so you go, yep, everyone knows who this villain is, what their motivations are. And that's all you need. Whereas if you've got, here's a random Z-lister, you think, cool, I guess.
What do you think about the multiverse? I know for me, I've never liked it in the comics. I liked space. I could deal with space and going out and seeing all the Kree and the Sheer and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know what I feel about the multiverse. It feels like, even the comics, it felt like a lazy way of bringing back the same people. And I get the impression that Marvel, if they have to press the big nuclear button and panic button, will bring back Robert Downey Jr. They'll park a big truck of money on his driveway and say, "Can you come back?" Which will ruin his death if they bring him back. And likewise, if they bring Captain America back, it will ruin his story arc.
Yeah.
But I can see them doing it because the multiverse solves all the problems. It solves it's lazy writing at its extreme.
It's a difficult one because I think the problem they've got is they were trying to pass a torch. So from Captain America to Captain America, and from Iron Man to what's her face? Iron Girl,
Ironheart.
Ironheart. That's the one. Yeah, Iron Girl. So you've got to have a new generation. So you've got to hand over the reins, because let's face it, they did have 10 years of leading films and leading a whole franchise. And at some point you've got to go, do you know what, guys? I'm kind of done. I want a day off and a spa day.
True.
So you've got to then hand over it. If you bring them back, it completely destroys all the work you've done trying to hand it over again. And you just can't. If they do it, it'll be a disaster. It would be the worst thing they've ever done. I think if you're going to have a multiverse, have universes that are completely different. So again, going back to a DC bent, where you've got each universe is its own entity and it does its own thing, and they don't really cross unless Flash gets overexcited and breaks through a wall. The freedom of movement would be a problem. So I think I'd have supported Brexit there somehow. But freedom of movement between universes, like in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, becomes a problem because you just end up seeing so much and it just becomes a homogenized mess. And you think, actually, what were they called? The Illuminati. You go, oh, it's going to be really good. And they were on screen for
rubbish.
5 minutes.
Thing is, I said previously, I don't know much about Kang, and I don't know much about all the variants of Kang. And it sounds exciting. I know about Secret Wars. So I remember Secret Wars when I was a kid and stuff like that. Obviously, they're going to twist it and shape it into this multiverse thing. But Secret Wars wasn't about the multiverse, was it? It was about bringing all the heroes and villains onto Battle World to fight each other. It wasn't. What I possibly is going to happen is we're going to see all these like 10 times the Endgame battle, because they're all going to be fighting and it's all going to be, wow, it's going to be amazing. But is it really? Again, are they doing too much to try and... They did it. Endgame was a peak and they're going to try and outdo themselves. But I think by doing that, they might fall flat and it might not work. But I don't know.
Having a sort of a sideways thought. If you were new to Marvel, so today is your first day of being, and you can call, I'm going to watch a Marvel movie. What is the barrier to entry in now watching a Marvel movie? Because do you need 10 years of movies, TV shows, and other reference material to watch a movie? Is the multiverse its own undoing? Because actually, the casual fan cannot be a casual fan anymore.
True.
It's undoing?
I think Disney Plus is the barrier. I think if you have to watch, how many shows did I just recite there? 5 or 6 different shows. Yeah. And to fully understand everything that's going on in the films, there's the barrier straight away. I think, one shots aside, they've created that shared universe to make money, and there's fair enough, it's capitalism, they're going to make money. But yeah, if you're just a casual, I like a superhero film, I'm going to go watch it. Oh, who's this character? Oh, she's the Scarlet Witch. I remember her. She was a goodie last time I saw her. Why's she doing this? Why's she gone crazy? Wasn't explained. Oh, okay, fair enough. I'll just watch this. Oh, hang on a minute. Who's Kang? Who's this guy? Why does everyone know him? What's the multiverse? And then it's kind of like, yeah, you're in this kind of. Yeah, it is very difficult, and that's kind of, I suppose that's always the barrier for the comics. I always found is, where do you start? Where, if you want to read up on, I don't know, the sort of stuff when they're in space, where do you start in order to get an idea of what's going on? It is very difficult, and I think they will lose the casual fans if they start becoming too lore canon heavy. But the movies were never about comic canon, but they've created their own comic canon by default by creating the extended universe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. As soon as you've got movies that link to movies that link to movies that link to movies that link to TV shows that also link to movies that then link to another TV show, you think, well, crap, I've now got to watch 20 hours of content before I go and watch a film in the cinema. So you need to have a film that is accessible to basically a layperson. A casual viewer needs to be able to go and sit in the cinema and understand what's going on, because otherwise you're gonna turn them off.
And I think that's where Spider-Man does so well, is because Spider-Man is so popular, so relatable. No matter what they push out, people get it. And the fact is, even with the one with all three Spider-Man, people got it because they'd seen all the other Spider-Man films over the years. So the concept of the multiverse worked there because it was with characters they already knew and understood. And then you bring in Green Goblin, Sandman, whatever. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was from that film, or that was that film, and it just worked.
But actually, even a youngster that is seeing it, for 12-year-old, wasn't around when the first films came out. They can watch it and go, oh yeah, here's my Spider-Man. And they go, oh, so these are other Spider-Man. And oh, they're their villains. Okay, that makes sense. And suddenly the film explains what it's doing in its own context. Admittedly, Doctor Strange might be a problem because he's obviously in there to cause it. But again, you've got people who go, oh yeah, I understand what's going on, and it's explained enough within the film. You don't need any extra things to make it watchable.
Yeah, I think what they've got to do is, because don't forget what's coming down the line, X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Yes.
And Deadpool 3, which has been announced.
Yes.
And we know where that's going, but they're bringing back Fantastic Four, not as much, 2-3 groups of immediately recognizable characters that people have seen on the cinema in the past. Whether it's Patrick Stewart or not, it won't be, but obviously all those characters coming in, they've got to get that right, and that's an easy win. But if they mess those ones up and get that too bogged down in this multiverse nonsense, then what frustrates me, I don't know why, it's like they haven't addressed the mutant element, and I get the feeling, and this is just my opinion, they don't know how to bring mutants in. If they do, it's a really funny way of doing it. And it just seems they're just holding off and holding off and holding off. And they said, no, they did. Correction. They did. What did they touch on it? That it was in Ms. Marvel. There was a throwaway line about being a mutant. And it was right at the end of that series. Again, you had to watch that to get that concept. But X-Men is a big one. Deadpool will stand on its own because it's Ryan Reynolds, it's Hugh Jackman. It's what everyone's been asking for years. It'll just stand on its own. Fantastic Four will be interesting to see how they approach that and what they do with those characters and how they fit in, because they keep threatening to cameo them in these films, but they never turn up. So again,
well, you had Reed Richards in the Illuminati in Multiverse Madness.
Yeah, but is it going to be what's his name, Kransky? Is it going to be somebody else cast as him?
Yeah,
who knows? So I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot to do, and I don't know if they can pull it off. I think if Guardians 3 doesn't do very well, i.e. they don't make as, I think they always say if it doesn't make $1
billion
billion.
dollars. Yeah.
It's classed as a failure. So if that doesn't do very well, that'll be 3 in a row that they've had that failed. Because Ant-Man didn't do very well.
Again, I didn't see it.
It was okay. The ending wasn't very good, and I don't know if I spoil it what happened at the ending, but it fell flat for me, and I was like, is that it? I'll let you see it, but it was a bit of a flat ending, and it was all right. I like Ant-Man as a concept, but it wasn't an Ant-Man film because he was getting replaced by his daughter, and she played most of the role of it, and MODOK was in it, and MODOK got ruined, and but yeah, bad taste in the mouth. But if Guardians doesn't do very well, then that's 3 failures in a row they've had, and they've never had 3 that have not made $1 billion.
But also, is the post-COVID cinema not what it used to be going to be a problem? Admittedly, Spider-Man broke that mold because it was Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it kind of proves that people will go back, and that was only in 2022, start of till end of 2021. So I don't know. It is a thing, but how much of an excuse is COVID nowadays? Is it too much to ask? It's interesting. So I don't know where Marvel will go. I don't think it's going to be an easy ride, and I think the shared universe has got so messed up that they need to take stock. And I think they are with their TV shows. I think I said before in the previous episode, they're pushing back releasing some of these. I think Secret Invasion's coming out, and then they're putting a few on pause because I think they're realising that it's like, who wants a TV series about Agatha from Agatha Harkness? They pulled the trigger on that because, she was a popular character in WandaVision, so they made a whole TV series about her because they can. But who wants to watch that? About a random character which worked in the context of WandaVision, but now they're making a whole TV series about her. I don't want to see that. Yeah, she worked. She was great in that one-off. Just leave it alone. Don't make a character. And they're making a character. They're making, now you wouldn't have seen it. It's a Hawkeye brought back Kingpin, and then cut his bollocks off. And it was Kingpin in Daredevil was amazing, and in this he was shit. And he got his ass handed to him, and it was like, oh yeah, but he's impervious to pain, but he still got beaten up by a girl. And this is not the Kingpin that you saw beating up people with like bare hands in Daredevil. Yeah,
because the thing with Kingpin is, yes, he's huge, but he's also horrifically strong. He'll just snap you in half without breaking a sweat.
And the character in Daredevil was such a 3-dimensional character, but this one wasn't. I know Daredevil's back in the fold, but it won't be Netflix Daredevil. They won't be kicking people's teeth down their throat in a dark alleyway. Daredevil's going to be watered down.
It'll be sanitised Daredevil, won't it?
Yeah, he was all right in She-Hulk, to be fair, but it wasn't great. So, I don't know. It just seems that they're pushing out the wrong content. It's like, well, I don't want to see that. Why do I want to see that? I want to see something good. Just give us an R-rated Daredevil, and I'll be happy with that. But Netflix already did that, so it's already been done.
Yeah.
And arguably the best one they ever did was Jessica Jones, David Tennant. That was awesome. That was an awesome series. Mr. Purple.
Mr. Purple, yeah.
Mr. Purple, yeah. I'm thinking of Mr. Negative from Spider-Man. No, that was brilliant. Again, nothing's going to beat that, but Disney won't do it because Disney are Disney, and they'll water it down. I'm really surprised that Deadpool got an R rating for their film. I thought they were going to water that down as well.
I think, though, with those involved, it just wouldn't have happened if they were going to sanitise it.
No, Ryan Reynolds wouldn't have gone for it. You just know he wouldn't. At least he's got that much clout and that much creative control to say, no, we're not doing it.
Yeah. And in fact, he got Hugh Jackman to come back.
Oh, that's going to be brilliant. It is going to be really, really good, that.
Yeah.
Because it's the one thing we all thought we'd missed out, because he quit just as Daredevil got really big. And it's like, I keep saying Deadpool got really quick, and it's like,
yes.
But they brought him back, and the way he did it was brilliant. That little trailer thing was awesome.
Yeah.
So there we go. Have we done Marvel Universe death? I've got anything else in my notes?
Well, we've ranted for about an hour, so...
Yes, that'll do.
Yeah, the little clock in the corner says 58 minutes.
Oh, geez,
so even with our outtake at the beginning, I think we've still been ranting for a little while.
So there we go. I suppose we open it up to the listeners, viewers. What do you think? Do you think Marvel are doing a good job? Are we wrong? Please stick a comment in the comments below or let us know on social media. So that's at GIFPod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or just go to link.journeysinfandom.com and it's got all the links on there.
I can't believe you made me a TikToker. Oh.
I got to put those ears on.
Yeah, I'm too old for this.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's a slow process getting it on the other mediums, but we'll do our best. But certainly check us out on YouTube or here on the podcast and let us know what you think. Next time, I think we're all right to say next time we're going to talk not about DC, but we're going to talk about Superman and how to make a proper Superman movie, because I think that needs an episode in its own right.
Yeah, my favourite superhero of all time.
Well, there we go. Superman. So it's going to be a good one. Yeah, to be fair, I quite like Superman as well. But we'll talk about that and all the things that DC are doing, because I think The Flash is out, isn't it, soon? Yes. So we might get some news up on that and see how that goes. Yeah,
because that's out in May, June? I want to say June.
Something like that. Let's have a look.
The problem is, because of the DC studio restructure, does anyone care?
No. But then that's another hour worth of do we actually care?
Yeah. I think we were going to touch on it. We'll talk about Superman. Could actually go, cool. Do we actually care anymore?
Yeah. I think that's it. At least Marvel have got an extended universe. DC just keep managing to lose
Trying.
theirs.
Yeah.
Trying and failing.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of trying and failing,
let's end this episode, shall we? We tried twice and we still keep talking.
Yeah, we keep rambling. Right. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, my name is Tim, and I will speak to you next time. Cheerio for now.
Yeah. And I'm Matt, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.